Carter, Chris, and I are here for Beyond the 90. Today, let's talk a little bit about what is happening in terms of the USL Championship and USL League One and the new USL Division One and the efforts to implement promotion and relegation. So, I've been speaking to a number of people at USL clubs in the last 10 days or so, 2 weeks actually. And one of the things that pretty apparent from talking to them is that there is a significant amount of interest in USL Division One, both in terms of existing USL clubs, expansion teams that are coming into the USL Championship in the next few seasons, and also expansion teams on the outside. So what I've been told is as many as 10 clubs in the current USL Championship, 24 teams, have applied or will apply for being part of the launch of the USL D1 in presumably in 2028. And so if that's the case, we're looking at a situation where let's say 6 of those 10 get in, then that's 6 of your presumed 14 teams to launch with. I understand among expansion teams, and so this is we can start speculating here, because the expansion teams coming in the next few years are the following: Jacksonville, Northwest Arkansas, Rogers, Arkansas, Santa Barbara, which is not a D1 sized market, by the way, but I'll get to that in a minute. Milwaukee, potentially Des Moines or Iowa. Who am I forgetting here? Brooklyn is obviously a D1 size market. There's no question about that. Same thing with Jacksonville, obviously D1 size market. Am I forgetting someone else? I might be, but and potentially Omaha moving up. And I think Omaha is an interesting one if they have the right funding. Peter Marlette, Omaha, right? Buffalo, which is Erie County used to have over 1 million people, but I think the population's been declining there. So still probably a D1 market, right? D1 size market. So several of those clubs could apply. And then I'm told there's been significant interest from outside groups. And by significant interest, we mean double-digit number of potential interest. Now, of course, you're not going to take all of them. Let's say there are 12 that apply. Maybe you take 6 of those. And if you take 6 existing USL Championship clubs and 2 of the expansion teams, hypothetically, let's say Jacksonville and Northwest Arkansas, let's just use those 2 as an example, you're at 14 for year 1. So that's the Division One situation. Now, in terms of promotion and relegation and then implementing the up and down, I'm told there are dozens of different potential proposals, dozens. And most likely we're going to see something that involves a playoff, because we've seen how the playoffs in the EFL generate excitement. We've seen how the 2-leg one-off kind of, it's not one off, it's 2 legs, but the 16 versus 3 playoff in the Bundesliga, and then you do that also Bundesliga in the lower divisions in Germany, how that generates a certain degree of excitement, and it's a second chance, right? So it's a second chance playoff. That's a possibility. That sort of implementation is a possibility. Don't just assume it's going to be 3 up and 3 down. It could be. It may eventually be that, but it may start 1 up, 1 down, 2 up, 2 down, and potentially no one gets automatically relegated, but you go into a playoff, and maybe it's 14 versus 1 in the second division and 13 versus 2, and the winners advance, or maybe there is some sort of other creative way of doing it. So those are on the table. So that's something to be alert to. Additionally, I'm told that there is a significant interest from outside investors in USL clubs at the moment because of the pro-rel potential. So that is, I think, what the USL League office was counting on. Apparently, we're only a couple months into this. It's playing out. Maybe, the devil's always in the details. Maybe when the details are revealed and they come up with a format, some investors will back off. Or maybe that will attract more investors, depending on the format. Now, so let's talk about something else that's unfortunate, I think, that we're even having this conversation. But I had teased it on the Third Half podcast the other day. But I'm hearing from multiple USL Championship clubs and from people around the league that as we get into the summer and you have a CBA mandated mental health break for each club in each USL professional club championship in League One, and then you also have coaches who at their discretion give time off, right, to players, and heat of summer, the intensity of being right in the middle of the season, the heart of the season. You want to keep your players fresh, and you want to keep them mentally fresh too. It's also mental fatigue. So in the past, players have gone, I know Detroit City players have crossed the border and gone to Windsor for a couple of days. They've hung out in Ontario. Guys have gone into the Canadian Rockies. Guys have gone down into to Cancun, gone to Mexico, gone to the islands. So what I'm being told is several clubs are advising their players, if you are a visa holder, right, if you're one of the 7 foreign players, or some teams, if you trade for foreign player spots, have more than 7, don't leave the U.S. Because you may have trouble getting back in, even with a legitimate work visa. There might be complications. You may be held up. You may then miss a day or two of training. You may miss a match. Who knows what else might happen. Stay in the United States. Now, for American players, I think they can cross the border to Canada and come back. Although, they may have to weigh that. They may have to weigh what happens if there's some holdup at the border. If you're crossing the Ambassador Bridge, right? The Gordie Howe Bridge isn't open yet between Detroit and Windsor. So if you're crossing the Ambassador Bridge or you're crossing the tunnel from Windsor to Detroit, do you want to be held up? And in fact, the city of Windsor has now stopped the bus service across the border that went through the tunnel several times a day and brought people back and forth between Windsor and Detroit, including workers in the auto industry, because of the tensions. So that is just where we are, and now it's being reflected in the way several USL clubs are handling their own rosters and talking to their own players. And if this were to continue into next season, I'm hoping it doesn't impact the ability of USL clubs and also MLS clubs, quite honestly, and NWSL clubs to sign foreign players who may have certain types of visas or come from certain countries or certain backgrounds. But I can't speculate. I would say I don't think it would, but maybe I'm being hopelessly naive when I say that. So let's keep an eye on this.